Alright, hey guys, so we are going to just run through the basics of setting up a bow. We have the Martin 2019 Max 33. You can see right here. It's in all black. This is the one with the tri-lock and the bolted in limb. This is a 55 to 70. And we're just gonna go kind of over just the basic of, you buy a bow, it gets shipped to you, this is how you're gonna get it. Whether you guys are setting them up at home or taking them to a pro shop, this is how we're gonna run through it and set it up for you. So first things first, you're gonna figure out what your draw length is. On these draw mods, this being the long draw cam, if you guys can see that, the long draw cam is going to be running 27 to 30 inches. On the back side of the draw mod here, it goes 1 to 7, and each number hole on both ends is in half-inch increments. So 1 being on the 27, 7 being on the 30 side. I'm a 30-inch draw, so actually more, but with the D-loop I can get about 30 and a half, which is fine for me. So I'm going to set this up according to my draw length, just as the setup. I already did the top, so to speed it up, so I'm just going to kind of go through and show you guys what we do on the bottom side. So on the Maxx bows, these are I think they're a Torx 20 for the bolts. The 2 bolts or screws that hold the draw mod in place are Torx. So don't strip them out with an Allen, please. When we're first setting these up, I like to use a little bit of wax and keep them from rattling around until we know exactly that's where we're going to be at, and that just keeps everything happy on the threads. Once we know that draw length is absolutely going to work for you, I will use red Loctite. Wax works great, but the red Loctite, that way, blue Loctite, not red. Blue Loctite. You can get the blue Loctite off. Red Loctite is like concrete and pro shop's worst nightmare. Don't use red, please. Use the blue kind. So we've got this mod out to 7, which is at the longest side. This one I've already switched and buckled this limb down all the way. This one we still have a space on. So I need to make sure that I pull this limb all the way, because both sides need to go down at the same succession. So these are Allen. Pull that all the way down to tight, and then I always back them off a quarter turn on both sides. That way, that's a personal preference. It just keeps a little bit of wear off for me. That quarter turn isn't going to, you're not going to notice any performance issues, and it just maybe makes things last a little bit longer. So now that we have draw length and the poundage is set at 70, you are going to utilize 100% of this bow. If you were on the lower side at 27 and still at 70 pounds, being that this is the Helix cam, you are not going to get 100% full potential of the bow. You're going to be about 4 pounds off. So you might see about 66 and a half pounds, just because of the draw length. It's not much of a difference, but at that full draw length of being 30 and the full poundage, it might creep over 71, 72 pounds, but there is going to be a slight difference. I would recommend not doing anything to put any added stress on your limbs. There are ways to do that. Don't, please. It puts added stress on the bows. You can get bigger limbs for them. I'm going to do another video today to where I did that to my own personal bow, and that's a better route than twisting other things to make the poundage go up, because it just puts added wear. So anyways, so the next step that I'm going to go to is bolting on the rest. Whether you're using a whisker biscuit, a hostage rest, or in this case we're going to put on the Connects package drop away, it all goes the same way. So hooking up into the Berger hole, get it started here, and in the accessory kit they're gonna send you a whole parts kit to get your rest set on and in place. So when I first set these things on, it's kind of hard because being black on black to see here, but I always set this rest right off the bat as square to the bow as possible as far as eyesight, keeping that rest as flat to the shelf as possible. There is an adjustment. Let me grab the phone here. There is, if you can see, trying to keep to the cable slide and this as flat as possible, and 90 degrees to the shelf. Even though the arrow rest is sitting slightly elevated, I can make that adjustment here to make sure that it comes flat. It is sitting slightly here, so I can scoot that back just a little bit. So you just want to make sure that you give yourself the best starting point as possible, keeping that rest as straight as possible. You can always make those fine tunes when we shoot through paper. So now that that's set, I've got a good starting point. I can loosen up this bottom on the actual rest itself and make sure that that thing's perfectly flat, just snug. I'm going to end up moving it around for my arrow alignment, but there's other things that'll come into play here. So now that this is at as flat as eyeball can see to my cable slider, now I'm going to loosely put in a D-loop. Everybody has their own way of putting on their D-loop, and this is the way that I was taught, and once you do this about 1,000 times, you get really, really good at it, to where they don't break, and you end up just figuring out what works the best. I cut them a little bit, that way I've got a little bit to play with. And I like a smaller D-loop here. I don't pull anything tight. I pull the bow down, it's going to be just out of sight here, just to clip this tail. And all I'm going to do is clip this tail even with the top of the loop in the back. So there's still a tail attached. That way I can burn this end and put my knot, fray this out and put that knot for the burn. So when I pull, it's got that ball on the end of the D-loop string. So when it comes tight, that's what's holding. So I'm going to do that. It's just going to be right out of camera frame here. Alright, so all I did was just clip that and put that little burn knot in the end of it, holding that tight. So now I'm going to take my arrow right here and I'm going to pull this rest up, putting my arrow in the spot of the D-loop. And just eyeballing, I'm going to make sure that that arrow on the D-loop is running directly through the Berger holes. Okay, now this is where my levelers come into play. So this one is going to go on the back of the string. Make sure that you're on the string or on the serving with both clips. I use this little piece of tape because I like to put it on the string side. That way it sucks that string all the way into it and holds it tight. This side is going to go in front of the rest on the arrow. So I'm going to pull the bow so the shoot string is level, straight up and down. So my bubble here in the back is dead level. Now, setting up to the Berger hole, I didn't have to touch anything with my D-loop or the rest. The level on the arrow is spot on, 100%. Didn't even have to touch anything, and that was just by eyesight. So that's telling me that that arrow is perfectly 90 degrees to my string. That is going to give me the most center shot, and I'm going to have to do slight tuning on through paper, because when I time my rest, that rest is going to come just slightly elevated when it pulls hard before it clicks down, right? So at this full position, my string is level, shoot string, and the arrow is perfectly at a 90-degree angle on my string. So I know that my rest is perfectly centered to where it needs to be. Okay, now we grab me a sight, just a three-pin sight. So now that I know that, I can take my levelers off. Now I can bolt on my sight. We sell as a package deal the Connect system. So on all these bows, when you upgrade, you can get the Connect package that comes with the Connect drop away, 3-pin sight quiver, stabilizer, wrist strap, and the whole nine. So might as well just set this all up as that. Get the screws here real fast. So right off the bat, not knowing what my sight elevation is going to be, I usually start off by putting my screws in the center position on the sight. And you can see that there's 3 positions for the sight and elevation. I usually just start by always putting it in the center holes, and I can always move it from the tuning side when we sight in. So all this is going to do is just getting the sight and rest lined up with center shot of the bow. Okay, so that sight is mounted in. I haven't done any adjustment with the sight. So I'm going to turn the bow so it's perfectly, I'm going to try and line it up as best I can here so you can see the arrow. Okay, it's going to be a little bit off, but it's going to be the best that I can do here. All right, so if you were to look, I'll angle the camera down. If you were to look and follow this string from this side of the cam, up the string, and down the arrow through the riser, through the center of the riser, you can find your center shot. And some of the bows will ride slightly to the left. This is a little bit backwards to you guys, but it'll ride on a right-handed bow. It'll ride slightly left of the riser where the center shot of the bow is. So when you find where that string is, and you'll notice that the cam is sitting slightly left of the limbs, where the split limb design is sitting. So with that being, the center shot is obviously going to be slightly left of the handle. So when you line everything up for your center shot, and you want your arrow to come out perfectly straight out of your bow before you even paper tune, you want to line this thing up as straight as you can by moving your rest as far as eyesight, you know, as best as you can to that center shot. So that's what I'm going to do right now. And I just eyeball this to give me the best possible lineup before I paper tune. Now my rest is sitting about 1/4 of an inch to the inside. So I need to move it to the outside of the riser. Now you have to watch both cams to get yourself in line. So right now it's pretty darn close. So I'm going to go ahead and snug up this bottom screw that allows that rest to move side to side. This bottom screw does all of the side to side motion on that rest. So this one is going to be your elevation. Sorry. This one's going to be your elevation. This screw is going to be your side to side, your windage. Make sure both of those are snugged down. And in your parts kit, there is a little set screw that you can put in here to make sure that it does not move anymore, that it will inset. So now that I've got that as far as center shot, kind of try to line it up with the camera here as best as I can. It's going to be off. It's not going to be close for you guys. But if you see, the sight is just slightly left of my arrow. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and move, if I can find the right Allen here, I'm going to move my sight just a little bit right. Not much, just a little bit, to kind of line up with my arrow. Now that's more or less like bore sighting a rifle. That's all it is. It's not going, it's going to get you on paper at 20 yards, and that's about it as far as side to side. It's not going to do anything for your elevation. You're definitely going to want to start at your 10-yard mark and then work your way back to 20 and beyond. So, and when you do sight in, you're going to move your housing to fit your 20, set your housing, and then move your pins from there. But always set your housing so you have as much, get your 20 up towards the top of your housing, and set that pin high in your housing with your housing, and then when you start going out in distance, then you can move your pins from there. Whatever way that your arrow is shooting, you're always going to chase your arrow and move your sight according to the direction that your arrow is going. It's opposite of a scope for rifles. So if your arrow is shooting left, you want to move your sight left. Same if in elevation, if you're shooting high, you move your sight high with your bow. So on to the next step, we can pull the arrow out. Now I'm going to move to the press, and we can put in the drop away, and I serve everything in. For this application, I'm not just to make it a little bit quicker. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to put the clamp for this application. Hopefully my phone doesn't fall. Do you have the nope, I have it right here. I'm just going to put the clamp on instead of actually serving this one, just for time aspect. Most of them that I do, actually about 99% of them, I always serve them in, just because these clamps, at the end of the day, they end up sliding around, and the serving, when you put it actually into the string, into the cable, and lock them in tight, they don't move. So when you put a little bit of tension on the shoestring, you can tell which cable is sliding down. When you do that, that's the cable that you want to put that drop away cord onto. So on all the Martin bows, that back or top in the slider being here, this top and back cable is the one that goes towards the bottom cam, is the one that you're going to put the clamp on. So one side of the clamp goes on the cable, the other side is going to go on to the string. And when I say string, I mean the drop away. The drop away string. Some of them have Allens, other ones have Phillips. This one just happens to have a Phillip. So give yourself a little bit of slack. Slack in the drop away cord. You're gonna have to pull this thing back if you don't have a drawboard. I have a drawboard, but I don't have it exactly set up right now. So I'm just going to pull it back and time it that way. So at this point, we've already established our D-loop is 90 degrees to the string. I kind of skipped ahead. So one step, that when I pull the arrow out, I always, before my D-loop gets moved, that's when I cinch it down. So I've cinched my D-loop down so it doesn't move on me, because that step, if you don't secure that D-loop, it can move around on you. So it's set now where I want it. I don't cinch it down 100% because I haven't yet put the peep in. And that way, if I need to pull a cable and make a half a twist where my peep height is, I can do so and get everything so it's all twisted perfectly in the right height and all of that. So when I get my peep twisted in perfectly, that's when I will cinch it all down real tight. So with that, I've got a draw check release that's it's like an anti-dry fire. So it's just for pulling back. It won't allow you to fire. But the D-loop is tight enough to where it's not going to pull on you. So now I can pull. You want to put your rest all the way down, and you're going to cycle the bow, and I'm not at full draw yet, and the rest is already all the way up. So I need to pull more slack on that drop away and put it back down. I'll do it again. Now, same thing, I need to pull more slack on it and put it down. Now, it came all the way up just before full draw. So that is going to be absolutely perfect that it came up and was all the way straight up and down at its maximum just before I'm at full draw. And that's what I want, knowing when I let off of that thing, it is going to be timed correctly. So now I can snug that clamp all the way down and know that the timing is going to be perfect. So now is when, if you have a press at home, or you would take it to a pro shop to have your peep put in. I have already, for instance, put my peep into this one, and the height is not absolutely correct, but I've put it into the bow, and all that is left is paper tuning it. So, excuse me. So now is when we can go to the fine tuning stage and see how it shoots through paper, and know just how close we are on all of our measurements and everything. If Michaela would be so kind to carry the phone back, keep this all in the same video, to just show you how accurate these are, and these tips can be when you set these up correctly into the paper tuner. Obviously your sight's not going to be right. For elevation, it's going to be close for your windage, but not for elevation. But we're going to go back and we're going to shoot one of these arrows through paper real fast, and that way you guys will know how close we are to being spot on through paper with just setting up a brand new bow. So Michaela, without further ado, if you want to keep the video rolling, we'll just roll to the back. She got her corn back going. It was like popcorn in there. I'll slide the paper tuner over. All right. Okay, we're gonna shoot on the right side. If you want to show the paper here real fast, we're gonna shoot on this right side of the paper on a clear spot here. So we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 holes, and we're gonna shoot here on the right side. All right, so we got about a 1/2 inch high tear. Not bad. we got to do just a slight movement on the rest, or we can come down just a little bit on the D-loop, which is an easy adjustment, but it's not tearing crazy left, crazy right. And that could also be because of arrow spine. That's a 300 arrow. Some of these do like a 350. I don't have a 350 handy right at this moment, but that is a 500 grain 300 spine arrow shooting out of that. So that's not a bad tear for only being about a 1/2 inch tail low. Very, very easily corrected for just setting up a bow right out of the box. So just to let you guys know, that's really, really good right out of the box. So any questions, get a hold of us. Hopefully this helped on setting up the bows. You can get a hold of us on Facebook, TNS Archery Outdoors, or call us 360-304-9103. And anything else, hope you guys have a good day. Thanks.